The only way that we can get the Republican Party and the Trump movement to get the message is to turn over the table and change the order of how these things work. Our priorities will be heard first. Our votes will come second. We will be heard. We will be listened to. We will be acknowledged. They will make promises and commitments, rock solid, that they will deliver on specific things. And only then will we vote. Only then will we make a commitment to volunteer. And only then will we bring the meager resources that we have to get them elected. No longer will they get the privilege and the power of holding elected office and dispersing and dispensing patronage, jobs, and money without delivering to the American people. And that is why last week I announced my intention, and tonight am formally declaring war on the Donald Trump campaign. I am declaring a new Groyper war against the Trump campaign until we can figure out what the hell is going on.
From this day forward, it's going to be only America first. America first.
Hey there, freedom fighters. I'm coming back at you with another one. Well, I wanted to dive deeper onto this Groyper War thing. I briefly talked about it in my last video. I was talking about how Nick launched this Groyper War 2. And for those of you who don't know what that is or out of the loop, let me fill you in. This is the real right wing pushing back on the status quo, same old establishment conservatism. And, I talked about it in that last video, and I've done a video before, I think called the GOP Civil War. And it was more oriented at the, Larry Hogan's and the establishment, Adam Kinzinger's and the establishment Republicans pushing back on Donald Trump, trying to get in the race. But now it's Trump abandoning his base and the base pushing back on him. So, Trump just did a recent campaign address or something where he stood in front of some, Quaker Oats and Folgers coffee, milk and eggs. And he gave the same old conservative platform. We've talked about this before as well. It's the economy, stupid. He keeps on running on that. And basically what it boils down to, if we lose on every one of our principles, but the answer is just, but hey, gas is low, is that still America? And, I get it, man. Having the prices down in the grocery store is a big selling point. And everyone wants your, everyday products to be affordable. Yeah, if your milk and eggs are cheap and everything like that, that's great. And we want that. But we have bigger issues at hand. And again, it's like if your next door neighbor is a jihadi and half the country hates you and they're turning, your grandchild into some kind of transformer mutilated freak, and we're living in clown world and everything around you is burning, but it's like, oh, hey, gas prices are low. You don't have any rights. You don't have free speech. They've stripped you of your Second Amendment and all this. But hey, when I go into the grocery store, eggs are 50 cents. There's more to this country than cheap gas prices and low groceries. So, yeah, that's what it's really about, man. It's about the ones who are questioning the narrative and pushing back on that. And there's been a lot of main accounts. Nick himself, of course, but, Kyle Rittenhouse recently pushed back, saying that Trump wasn't, really on the Second Amendment. And Laura Loomer, who's, a big supporter, and I think Joey Manorino wrote something, Joe Rogan. I mean, you get the thing. I mean, large influencer accounts have been calling out the campaign and going into full attack mode, and people are, Nick even said, what they're going to do. They're going to call us leftists for this. They're going to call us plants. They're going to call us feds. But, what they don't realize is, no, this is the real right. And we're pushing back against, the status quo. And, I can't even count how many times I've gotten into fights with people over, wait, what? You're defund the police? I thought you hated the Democrats. You're one of them. And it's like, no, if you understood the policies, if you understood what the real right was about, you would get it. But then they attack you and they try to make you fall back in line, just like they did with Kyle. Man, they beat that boy into submission. Within 12 hours, he had to come out. That was a struggle session. You witnessed a live struggle session. All his sponsors were dropping out. All his book deals went away. And they're like, no, you have to get back on the Trump train. And who cares about his anti-gun policies when he was right? He was right all along. But they're like, nope, you're just going to have to deal with it. The status quo, yeah, there's going to be some gun control. Yeah, Trump's going to support it, but that's just what you have to get in line with. So anyway, I mean, back on the topic of, Nick and the Groyper War thing, I mean, his main criticisms seem to be, the main things he was tweeting out was no more war with Iran and no more immigration. He wants a full, pause. So, that's what he aimed at the campaign, and full of swamp creatures, by the way. Trump's main thing was promise to drain the swamp, and now he's taking, money from mega donors, which he said he wasn't going to do. You remember, he was like, oh, I just want your dollar and small campaign donations. I won't take from mega donors. And then he tweeted before in his first election that Marco Rubio got a bunch of money from Sheldon Adelson. And he was like, oh yeah, Marco's, his little puppet, because he's taking his money. Well, his wife, Marion Adelson, wrote a fat check. I mean, just guess. What do you think it is? A couple $1 million or something? No, it was 100 million, cajillion, billion, trillion, fulfillion dollars. So yeah, I mean, she wrote that fat check, and her policies go against everything that the Trump movement was supposed to stand for. And you said that, Rubio was going to be made into a puppet because of that money. Well, you just took the money. And then, Nick's other points are this La Savita and Susan Wiles or whatever, his campaign managers, are basically rhinos. And I've looked into them, and they have all these anti-Trump, anti-MAGA, anti-American policies. They're still following leftists on Twitter. They're following these, anti-Trump hate pages. I mean, these are the people running the campaign. And his own VP pick, and I'm going to get into him, in his own video. I got to cover J.D. Vance, but, I mean, he literally called him the Mustache Man. And he was as anti-Trump as they come and all this stuff. But see, now that they know Trump can go soft and that he's not really going to do all the stuff that he said in 2016, they realize he's now been molded into DC swamp. He can be gotten a hold of and that he can be controlled. Now they're all on board. They're like, oh yeah, I mean, he's not going to go do anything radical. He's not draining the swamp. He ain't doing none of this stuff. So, you know, they're all on it. But I mean, regardless, I mean, you have to feel that the energy is different from 2016. Yeah, you remember that saying he had the dragon energy? I mean, it's not there. It's not the same. I mean, you go back. Someone played the clips of, his 2016 campaign where, he told Hillary like, you're gonna be in jail, and when Jeb was talking, he shushed Jeb. He's like, shut up, you low energy bitch. He just told him, and that's over. And he's kind of rekindled that. He's touched on, maybe he's gonna put Clinton back in jail. But see, the thing is, man, it's not even Hillary Clinton. It's not even about putting her in jail. If this isn't a one-person thing, like, oh, you just put Clinton in jail, or you just put Obama in jail, you just put Biden in jail, and then all of a sudden everything is fixed. This is a top-down restructuring that needs to happen. Hillary Clinton just going to jail ain't going to fix anything. They all need to be taken care of. They all need to be locked up and held. I think the highest need military tribunals and tried for treason. And then it needs to go from their aides, their secretary, the people in their organizations, the cabinet. I've talked about this before. Everyone who worked down to the maids. If you were a part of this organization and keeping it afloat, the senators, the congressmen, everything, the police, down to the lowest thing. If you were a part of these organizations and you sold this country out, you are a part of the treason. And different penalties for different levels of it. But, at the lowest level, yeah, you need to be fired. And you just can't hold positions anymore in government. You're going to have a dirty stain on your name. Yeah, you were a part of it. Okay, I'm not calling for, anything happened to the low end, but just, But that's pretty much it, man. And that's not what we're getting. And you know who said it best, actually, was Michael Moore. And I can't believe I'm saying, Michael Moore said something great, or I'm agreeing with him, but he did. He had a good speech or one time. I can't remember if it was a speech or he was giving it in an interview or something, but he made an analogy, and he perfectly summed up what the Trump voter was. Now, this was the 2016 Trump, but he said, I know these people. I know why they did this. And he likened it to a political grenade. He said these people are fed up with the system. They're not getting ahead. They're being held back. They're in pain. All this stuff. He's like, you can't go and get a frickin', whatever. I forget what it was. A Vicodin or something from your doctor. You can't afford medicine. You can't afford health care. Everything's being stripped from you. Basically, the country's down the drain, and they're fed up with it, and they pulled the pin and threw the grenade. And he's absolutely right. That's what we did. We lit the fuse, to the bomb. We pulled the pin. We threw the grenade. But sadly, it was a dud. It never went off. And then the hardcore Trumpers will always make excuses and tell you, oh, they stalled him, and did you not see all the investigations and, all the stuff they put him through? He couldn't get it done. And all along during that time, I was saying, you need to get the ball rolling. Don't let this stop you. And then when I saw that newspaper article I've talked about multiple times in the Washington Post or maybe New York Times, I can't remember, that they openly bragged. We aren't giving the president his briefings. We aren't giving him the security briefings, these daily briefings. We're disobeying his orders. When he tells us to do stuff, we just don't do it. And he asks us about it later, and we just say, yeah, we're getting to it. but nothing ever happens. I said at that point, when he didn't call forth the military and start holding people accountable, putting people in cuffs, and, doing all this stuff, putting forward legislation, when you had the House and Senate, we had it all. We had the House, Senate, presidency, and Supreme Court. The perfect time to start laying down the law, draining the swamp, and doing it all. And it just all of a sudden turned into the campaign promises went away. The building the wall, the draining the swamp, the locking them up, all turned into, well, you take a look at this economy. This is great. And, record Black and Hispanic home ownership. And, your 401ks are up again. And, again, all that stuff is great. And that's what I hear constantly now. It seems all the campaign can run on is, I hear this a lot now too. Well, were you better off 4 years ago than you are now? And that seems to be all they have, right? Like, that's all you can hope for anymore. Your freedoms are still going to be gone. Unlimited immigration is going to be gone, or it's going to keep happening. But, the wall, that's gone. All that stuff is gone. Your First Amendment's gone. You're going to enter the police state. You're going to have your digital currency. They're going to force the medications on you. You're going to get the brain chip. You're going to get it all. But but then they're going to be like, well, but, the gas prices are going to be all right. In the grocery store, it's going to be fine. But you're no longer going to be a free, sovereign American. That part's gone. And that's what I've concluded. And that's what I realize this country has gotten into. And, that's pretty much what I'm getting at here. And yeah, I wanted to make a presidential, prediction here, but I kind of want to see what happens tonight. So yeah, we got that. We're talking about the GOP civil war. Let's see what happens, in this DNC tonight when they complete the coup. Supposedly Biden said he's giving his farewell address and then they're leaving. So they won't see Harris be put in as the nominee. Again, nobody voted for her. They're just taking over because they literally put a potato in office. A dementia patient that we've pointed out for 4 years is a freaking clown. He's been falling all over TV, stuttering on the world stage. But, they were like, oh, nothing's wrong. Oh, he's in control. And now they just threw, puppet number 2 in there. So that's a freaking clown show. But, let's see what happens there. And that's probably where I'm going to leave it. But, man, till the next one, we are on our own. And no one's coming to save us. So get right with God. Because only God can save you. Freedom Fighters out.